from the lies. Love opened my eyes. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the shame. I'm healed of the pain. I will be silent no more. I'm free from the lies. Love opened my eyes. I will be silent no
Well, hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life, co-founder of the Silent No More Awareness Campaign, and also co-host on the Catholic View for Women, seen on EWTN. And by the way, we have our new season coming up on September 5th. First episode will air at 11 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to watch for that. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, today I've invited our National Director on the program to say, let's have some pro-life updates. Let's hear what's going on in the movement right now that we need your help with. So welcome me to the program, Father Frank Pavone, our National Director. Welcome,
All right,
Father.
good to be here.
Well, there's a lot going on, as you know, and I think, Father, people are getting a little discouraged with this Biden administration. They feel like it's a runaway train with the abortion issue. They're hearing about the House passed that terrible funding bill and got rid of Hyde and Helms. And what can you say to people right now? Because now it's going to go to the Senate in September, we know. What can you say to people so that they don't feel discouraged and the battle's not over and we still have action things we can do?
Well, there's no need to be discouraged, but it is even worse than it appears to be, because this is not weakness, and this is not, these are people who they have our best intentions in mind. They just believe in a different way of getting there. They do not have our best interests at heart. There are people that are running this show here among the Democrats that do not love our country, right. and they have different goals. We have to understand this clearly. They have different goals than the rest of us have. So it's actually worse than it seems to be. However, elections have consequences, but elections are followed by other elections.
That's right.
We have two priorities right now, and they're both very doable. We have to secure the integrity of our elections, and many states are taking measures on this. There are many state laws that are advancing to protect.
I've heard like Georgia, I think, and Arizona are doing things.
And many others, others. There's an issue, in fact, in most states with some kind of election integrity, because people did not, people are paying attention, and measures are being taken. By the way, and along these lines, protectthevote.com is a great website for people to look at. The Republican National Committee has put that together. But it offers a good summary of what's going on to protect the elections.
So protectthevote.com, if they go there, it's kind of like up-to-the-minute news of what's going on in each state. In each state.
And it's federally.
And federal. So for people out there, then you don't have to be discouraged. You want to know what's going on. It's as if I think people think nothing's happening, but something is happening.
No. Yeah, a lot is happening, and people can get involved in it. I mean, the short recommendation we have is communicate with your state legislators.
Absolutely.
And of course, we always ask people, do you know who your state legislator even is?
Right.
It's very important to communicate with the state legislators. Backing up from that, we did stop on the federal level that election bill that the Democrats had introduced that would federalize the elections.
So
we stopped it.
It's dead?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So it got killed in the
House.
Oh, in the House it got killed.
Yeah.
So in order for it to
No,
get,
I'm sorry. In the Senate?
It got killed in the Senate.
That's we were getting the senators on. But see, that's the other piece of hope here. People have to understand. The Democrats don't have the kind of mandate that they pretend to have. The Senate is divided down the middle.
right down the middle.
And the House has the smallest margin that it has had in decades. So
Right.
it's a divided Congress because it's a divided country. But don't let them make you think that they've got, this is not some kind of a mandate that they have or big majority.
So in order to kill in the Senate that election bill that was going to, just destroy our election process, basically, it meant we had to get a couple of Democrats that voted our way, right? Because
well, remember, it was subject to the filibuster.
So they had
It was
to get
subject to the filibuster also, and that remains.
So they had to get 60 votes?
That remains,
Yeah.
that remains very much a protection.
Yeah.
And that's another reason for confidence moving forward. Sure, they can talk all they want about, we should eliminate it, but they don't have the votes to eliminate it. Because there's a wisdom behind the filibuster, which is that if a country is so evenly divided on something, do you really want to impose a policy that's going to make half the country furious?
Right.
The divisions are on fundamental things, not fringe things. It's fundamental principles.
Right.
All right, so you've got the filibuster, you've got an evenly divided Senate, you've got an election coming up where the historical odds are in our favor. What was it now? 63 seats in the House that Obama lost the first midterm
Right.
of his
Yeah.
first term. Under Clinton, they lost like 54 seats. The president, when a new party takes the White House, in that first midterm election, the pendulum swings to the other party. That's just the way it historically has
Goes,
worked.
right.
So it's working in our favor. 2022, people are going to feel, I think after Election Day, they're going to feel much better than they do now.
All right, but now we have, though, a very immediate battle with this budget battle, right, Father? It's going
Right.
it passed the House, which took out the Helms and the Hyde. And the Helms, of course, we know, stops taxpayer money going overseas for abortion, and Hyde stops it here in our country. And these have been in effect since 1973, I think, was Helms, 76 was Hyde, and it always had bipartisan support. It's
Yes,
only in this radical Democrat situation now that they, in the House, took away Hyde and Helms. Now that same bill is going over to the Senate with Hyde and Helms removed.
Yeah.
And so we have another chance because that's going to need, and also that will be a 60 vote, right? Filibuster thing, the budget or not?
Well, there are certain things that go through under reconciliation, which doesn't. We have to see how they.
We have to
do
see.
it. Yeah.
But now's the time. We're going to have at stopabortionnow.org, that's our
Yeah.
action alerts. We want people to sign up at stopabortionnow.org because we're going to let them know when, like, we're going to sound like the alarm. Now's the time. Contact your senators. Now's the time, right?
That's right.
To vote no on this bill when we get to that point. But it's going to happen soon. We just don't know when Chuck Schumer, Chuck, is going to bring it to the
Well,
floor
a
for
lot
a
of
vote.
times they don't know either. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated,
You
but
just
it's gonna
have to be-
happen soon.
You just have to be on alert and
On alert.
ready for delay, but we're also ready for action.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so a lot going on that front. And then I know, Father, you just released last week a letter to the bishops of the country. Tell
Yes,
in case
yes.
some of our viewers missed it, tell us about this letter. First of all, what inspired you to write the letter, and what do you think will be achieved by doing
Well,
it?
they can read it at abortionandthechurch.org. That's the special site I created for this letter, abortionandthechurch.org. They can even sign their own names to it. And the church is a family. We're supposed to be talking. We're supposed to be talking within the family. And that's why I wrote it, because there's a lot to say about, people are concerned about what the bishops are and aren't doing, are and aren't saying. They themselves have started a discussion about these pro-abortion politicians like Biden and Pelosi. And so they're discussing it openly. And it's not like, it's just their discussion. It's our discussion, all of us. And that's why I wrote the letter, to give my own thoughts. And because I'm in a position where, like you are, we're hearing from people all over the country, all over the world, every day, morning to night.
Every day on Facebook, email, snail mail.
Right.
I mean, people are just like really upset.
Yeah, and they often come to us with the hope that we can get their message to the bishops.
Right.
Because we're presenting ourselves as a national ministry, international ministry, that is Catholic in its inspiration. All right, we embrace, obviously, anybody that wants to bring an end to abortion, we're working with. But we're a Catholic ministry. And so people expect, hey, they say, tell the bishops this, or tell the bishops, here's what I think about that. And the law of the church says that people really do need to be free to express their views to the bishops. So that's what I did. It's about politics. It's about pro-abortion politicians. It's about the Democrats. What I basically say here to them is, first of all, please understand that when you lead, people will follow. The bishops really have lost, I said in the first part of the letter, a lot of them have lost confidence. Confidence in the message that they are proclaiming, confidence in how it can change things, and confidence in the people's willingness to rise up to the challenge and live out the faith in a courageous way. Because our times require courageous living of the faith. Not just living of the faith, courageously living the faith. So it's a call to courage, it's a call to confidence, it's a call to clarity. A lot of times the teaching that the bishops issue about political matters, and people are telling us this all the time, and we see it for ourselves, it's just not clear. Well, you have to vote your conscience. What in the world does that mean?
Well,
I don't know what that...
You know what I find, Father? I think the bishops are like the IRS, with the nonprofit status and intervening in elections. I think the bishops are like them. It's all this like gray area.
It's a lot of gray.
Instead of bright lines, it's gray.
It's this, but it's that, but this, but that, but this, but that. Listen, well, I'm not saying that the bishops should become partisan. The church, has a religious mission, and in a very real sense, we do rise above, the divisions of everyday politics. However, what happens if a political party sets itself against the church? What happens if a political party sets itself against the fundamental principles? I'm not talking about just policy disagreements or what's the best way to reduce crime in your community.
Or what's your education plan.
What's your education plan? There can be 100 different education plans that are all perfectly acceptable to Catholics. Which one is going to be the one you should vote for depends on, we don't know ahead of time, trial and error. That's why our system allows for changing things later on,
But when it comes to protecting human life, there's no
But the basic principle of
there.
protecting life, you can't have, it's like saying, well, let me go back to the crime thing. You can have 100 different plans about how to reduce crime in your community. All right. And you know what? The bishops even weigh in on things like that. It's not like they're weighing in saying, well, a Catholic has to support this plan and can't support that plan.
Right.
No. But they will weigh in. And I think they have every right to do so, as long as they make it clear we're not talking about dogma here, okay?
Right.
People have the freedom to disagree with us. If the more specific we get, the more people have the freedom to disagree with us. Okay, as long as they make that clear. They can be, when we put on this collar, we don't lose our citizenship.
That's right.
That's very important for people to understand. And we don't become second-class citizens either. We can and must speak up and participate in the public process. All right, that's point number one.
Father, when you said about the collar, what reminds me is there's no reason why a priest, a bishop, you name it, cannot say, as a private citizen, I'm going to vote for so-and-so.
Yeah.
You're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
And they're so afraid.
Well, here's the point I'm getting to here, though, with this example on crime. Let's say there's a dozen different plans on how to reduce crime in the community, and let's say the Republicans have 6 of them, the Democrats have the other 6. Okay, just for sake of example. Fine. Study them, debate them, try them out. But what if somebody came across with a plan that says, I want to increase crime? What if a plan came up, as ridiculous as it sounds, let's just, for the sake of argument, say, what if a plan came along and said, I believe that there's a right to crime? And a whole group of people started talking about the right to crime, the right to crime. Now, as I said, the bishops can weigh in and say, and we as priests can weigh in and say, hey, you know what? People are free to determine what plan they want to support. This plan seems to us to look better than that one. Okay, in a tentative, non-dogmatic way, you can make a prudential judgment. But when a plan comes across and says we want more crime, there's a right to crime, you know what? That's not a prudential judgment anymore.
Right.
That's not even a matter of just of policy. Now you're talking about a matter of principle. Now you're denying the very principle that you should protect people from violence and crime. No, you can't. And that's when the bishops can weigh in and say, you know what? We're not just making a recommendation here. The fact of the matter is you cannot support this bill or this policy because it breaks the principle.
Right.
Well, that's an imaginary thing. But right now we're talking about, although you know what, we got pretty close to that when all this nonsense last year with the riots, and
they were saying
and people say,
have
oh,
a right
this is a
to
peaceful
riot.
protest.
No, they were saying you
Yeah.
have a right to the riots.
We got pretty close to that example.
We did.
But where we've gone way over the line is, like you said, with religious freedom and with abortion.
Right.
This is a breaking of principle. So what I say in this letter is, bishops, very respectfully, you got to be more specific. Don't just tell people, you got to vote your values, vote according to conscience. No, you've got to point out the evils of the Democrat Party. That the Democrat Party, in supporting abortion,
Through all 9 months of pregnancy to birth,
without restriction,
with no restrictions.
and that you and I pay for it,
Exactly. Taxpayer money.
this is outrageous. This requires you to point very specifically, open your mouth, and say very concretely that this party must stop doing this. It cannot have the support of Catholics or of actually anyone of goodwill when you're talking about a plan to kill babies.
That's right. And Father, we've always said that if the party platforms were to switch
That's right.
positions tomorrow, well, our position stays the same.
It stays the same.
So if the Republicans were suddenly becoming abortion-loving like the Democrats are, and the Democrats suddenly became so pro-life, it would be, amazing.
Right.
Well, then we would vote Democrat.
Yeah.
It just depends on the positions here. And right now, those platforms, in fact, the last platform with the Democratic Party for the recent election, 2020 election, they even stated in their party platform that they wanted to get rid of the Hyde Amendment.
That's right.
They put it right in
Was
their
the
platform.
first time
The first time.
it was in the platform.
Yes.
Because remember, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama let the Hyde Amendment stay in there.
They let it stay.
Even Joe Biden,
when he was a senator, voted for it to stay.
In favor of it.
In favor of it. Now,
it
shows how extreme they've gotten.
It shows the hypocrisy.
That they put it in their party platform. That shows you they're getting so bold about it all.
Most Americans oppose that idea that they should pay for someone else's abortion.
Right.
Including about a third of people who say they're pro-choice and about a third of people who say they're Democrat.
Wow.
So these people aren't even, paying attention to their own base.
They're not. So, Father, what do you think the reaction of? Have you heard from any
I don't
bishops?
know.
Or
I have
not
no
yet,
idea.
Right?
I mean, listen, I don't know.
But wait, Father,
as
you have though heard over the past few months from quite a few bishops who have said very positive things about our ministry, haven't you?
Oh yes, we had a number of interviews that we've shown on these programs. Yes, Archbishop Cordileone issued a great pastoral letter. So did Bishop Michael Pfeiffer, Emeritus Bishop of San Angelo, Texas, and others
Bishop
have spoken
Coffey.
now. Bishop Joseph Coffey, we interviewed him as well. Loves our ministry, and we have a lot of good friends among the bishops.
And then, of course, listed on our website, I want to remind people, where's the page, Father, where we have the list of our Bishop Board of Advisors?
Oh, yes. Well, right when you go to the home page at priestforlife.org, you see who we are, and it has all the different information, including our advisors, yes.
Yeah, so, some people think like, are the bishops really in favor of our ministry? Oh, there's quite a few of them
look
are.
at the praise page, too, priestforlife.org/praise. You see hundreds of pages of positive comments. No, it's great. And that's not where the value of our ministry comes from. I mean, it's nice when they praise us, but that's not where the value of our ministry comes from. The value of the ministry is we're saving lives. That's why people support us.
We're saving lives. We're also healing the wounded with Rachel's Vineyard.
Yes.
The largest international ministry healing the hurt after abortion.
Yeah.
The Silent No More Awareness campaign, where we take those healed voices and give them a platform to speak out. So we absolutely know we're saving lives.
Yeah.
So, Father, another point is recently, with everything that's going on, is to talk a little bit more about our broadcasts here now, because I just want to make people realize that we're expanding and not shrinking here. So, to remind everyone, at 10 o'clock every morning Eastern Time, you're still broadcasting the Mass every day, right?
Yep.
And then in the evening, you had a great thing, Praying for America, right, with RSBN,
Praying for America.
Right Side Broadcasting.
Yes.
Comes on at 8 o'clock, is it?
Yes, on their channel and on ours.
And on ours.
Yeah.
And our channel is endabortion.tv, which also streams on, I know, Roku and Amazon and some others. And then, of course, Just Ask Janet comes on at 9.
Yeah.
And then some nights, Father, you're coming
And
on
then I
after,
follow you, yeah.
after my program at 9:35
nighttime program,
with
yeah.
a nighttime program. So we are expanding our internet streaming broadcasts, aren't we?
Oh yes, we are, and the audience keeps growing, and people love it. People, I mean, the growth really is up to the folks that are listening to us now, because the more they share it, the more they comment, the more others see it. I mean, we're trying to use the power of these platforms themselves and how they get the attention of others. So it continues to grow.
And of course, Father, the next thing that we're really excited about is our new the Good Shepherd Project, right? Let's just discuss that a little bit. Tell us about what you think is going to happen with the Good Shepherd Project.
Well, we've always been reaching out to clergy to help them to be better ministers of the gospel of life.
Right.
That involves preaching, and we show them how to preach courageously and compassionately about abortion. It involves counseling, and that's for people who think they might need an abortion, and also for those who've already had one. And it's about mobilizing. What can I invite my people to do to help change things? Just like we were talking a moment ago about stopabortionnow.org, contacting your senators and your members of Congress, etc. So those three areas. And of course leading the people in prayer, pro-life prayers. So those areas of prayer, preaching, counseling, and mobilizing. They love it. They've always loved it. What I mean is the priests, the deacons, the seminarians, we reach out to them too. They love to receive the guidance, the encouragement, the resources. So the Good Shepherd Project is along the very same lines. Be a good shepherd. Lead the sheep away from what is harmful, like abortion.
Right.
Lead them to the waters of life, both in terms of rejecting abortion and healing afterwards, like you were just mentioning the Silent No More and the Rachel's Vineyard do. So I think it's going to be very well received.
Yeah. And, I want our people now that are hearing this message, if you know a priest or deacon, maybe they're not aware we're going to have our first Good Shepherd Project training on Wednesday, September 22nd
right.
at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. In fact, giving the opening comments is going to be Bishop Joseph
We're going to
Coffey,
have a bishop. Right.
followed by you, Father Frank, followed by Dr. Teresa Burke.
Yes.
And then we're going to open it up for dialogue and questions for the
Right.
priests and deacons to ask about that. And Father, I think it's really important because very often we know from Rachel's Vineyard, let's say, and Silent No More, women will tell us that they felt very distanced from the church, the guilty, unforgivable sin, all these words. And the clergy now, they're sometimes very afraid to preach because we don't want to hurt those women. And so we know it's just the opposite. The women, if they don't hear them say anything, they think it's hopeless. And sometimes they're sitting in their pews, but they won't present themselves for communion because they won't go to confession. So it's like a stumbling block.
Right.
In fact, Father, I even had women tell me that they would go from church to church listening to the preaching of the priest, waiting to hear, can I approach him? Can I talk to him? Can I go to confession? They're afraid.
Yeah.
And so what we're hoping with the Good Shepherd Project is to raise the awareness of the priests and the deacons, because a lot of deacons do the preaching too, so that they realize you can preach on this topic in a very healing and gentle way, and you're going to see they're going to come. And you know what it reminds me of, Father? I want to take you back. When we were in Seattle, Washington, this is a long time ago, and matter of fact, the priest's name was Father Frank, and he heard you preach at all the masses. And then he said he got up after at the at the post-communion to say a few words after you preached. I don't know if you remember this, but he got up and he said, you've just heard this wonderful message from Father Frank here, Pavone, and you know, if you've had an abortion and you're hurting, please call me. Please call me.
Yes.
And he said, people started coming to him.
Of course.
After your visit, it was like he was so busy with spiritual direction and confession, he was exploding.
Well, we
about
opened
it.
up. See, let me put it this way. Let's ask a question. What do people think is going to be the scenario where somebody who has had an abortion and is ashamed and is sorry for it is more likely going to go and talk to their priest? I'm going to present three possibilities. Number one, the priest who preaches about abortion in a sort of an angry and condemning way. Number two, the priest who preaches about abortion in a compassionate way and calls people to healing. Or number three, the priest who does not mention it at all. Which of those three is somebody who, like you say, is kind of shopping around, going to be more likely to go to?
Well, of course, the compassionate one.
The second one, right?
Because there's silence. Silence does not interpret
What does that
itself.
mean?
It doesn't mean anything. If they never hear them saying anything, they think it's hopeless, that God can't forgive them. So that discourages them. Of course, if they're preaching fire and brimstone, abortion's a sin, you murdered your baby, that's not going to be so well. But the compassion way. So, Father, just give us an example. What's one way you say it compassionately, if you were talking?
We who reject abortion do not reject those who have had abortions.
Wow, simple sentence.
Well, I say that in all my homilies.
Yeah.
We welcome them with peace and mercy and compassion. Come to us. Another phrase I use, we are not against you. We are on your side. Many people think that the church and the pro-life movement are judgmental, but we're not. Right. We know the difficult circumstances that lead a person to the door of the abortion clinic. It's not freedom. It's despair.
That's right.
And so, we let them know, we go through some of the circumstances so that they realize, yeah, we know the story very well.
Well, and I know, Father, I've heard you preach enough around the country, all over the world, and one thing that you say in your homilies, where you say, and brothers and sisters, I know people who have 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20. I even ministered to someone who had 24 abortions, and yet she, on repenting of her sins, will be welcomed back to the church, will be welcomed back to the mercy of the Lord.
Right.
And there is always a gasp in the church.
Always.
Like that. Like
24 abortions, yep.
And that's the hope. Because yes, if you could be forgiven to destroy the lives of 24 children, and then God's going to still give you mercy and forgiveness, then if you've only had one abortion, you better be running over for that confessional, because there's hope for you too.
There's hope. That's right. That's our message.
So we just want to remind everyone, we want you to sound the good news here.
Yes.
The Good Shepherd Project.
Yes.
Go to thegoodshepherdproject.com. There's a little bar there. Your priests and deacons can sign up.
That's right.
And they'll get then the email invitation to our very first training. We're going to do one a month.
Right.
One a month. Simple, 1 hour. We're not committing a lot of time for them. September 22nd, 7 p.m. Let's just, we can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on Zoom. So I want to max it out on September 22nd.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, Father, thanks again for joining me. It's been another lively conversation. And again, one final thing, go to stopabortionnow.org. Sign up for our action alerts, because every week I know, Father, you're alerting them to what's going on and how they can act and get involved. So thanks for joining me today.
All right. You're welcome.
Well, brothers and sisters, thank you, too, for joining me on Just Ask Janet. And remember, there are some abortions only you can stop, and some lives only you can save. Join me again next time on Just Ask Janet. Thank you.
I will be silent no more. I'm free from the